My sister texted, "Don't come to the wedding, it's classy." And my mom added a laughing emoji. I said, "Cool, I'll cancel the classy payments too." They mocked me by dawn, their reservations vanished, card declined, and my sister showed up at my door. I woke up at 6:14 a.m. to the sound of pounding. Hard, frantic, like someone was trying to break the door down. When I opened it, there she was. My older sister Marissa, shaking, mascara smeared, barefoot in the hallway of my apartment building in Cleveland, Ohio, holding a crumpled bridal invoice in one hand and her dead phone in the other. "You did this," she hissed. "You ruined my entire wedding." Behind her, the hallway lights flickered, the cheap kind that always buzz, but right then they made everything feel even more surreal. She looked almost feral, not devastated, not heartbroken, furious, like she had finally met the villain of her story and had decided it was me. I didn't say anything at first. I just leaned on the frame and stared at her because I already knew why she was here. I'd been waiting for this exact moment ever since I started pulling everything apart. She jabbed the invoice at me. "The venue says you canceled. The photographer says you canceled. The caterer says you disputed the card. What the hell is wrong with you?" I stayed calm, uncomfortably calm. The kind of calm I only get when I've already cried every tear I had over something. "Marissa," I said quietly, "step back from my door." That made her explode. She shoved me hard. "You're jealous, you always have been. You want everyone to hate me so you can feel like the good daughter again." The words hit harder than the shove. Good daughter. If she only knew how wrong she was. She pushed again, and this time I stepped back, not because I was scared, but because I recognized something in her eyes. Something I had finally stopped ignoring. Something I had let run my entire life until a week ago. Desperation. The kind that becomes dangerous when threatened. "You don't get to ruin my happiness," she screamed. "You don't get to control everything just because you make more money now." That's when I stopped her. "Your wedding was built on my money, Marissa. Your happiness depended on me pretending not to see how you use people." Her face froze. Not hurt, not shocked, just calculating. But here's the part that still twists my stomach when I think about it. Right before she spoke again, right before she called me pathetic, lonely, bitter, her phone buzzed in her hand. And she glanced at the screen. For a split second, I saw the notification. A text from Evan, venue manager, private. Not her fiancé, not a vendor, just someone I didn't recognize. And the message preview. "You need to tell your sister before I do." My heart dropped. She saw my eyes widen, then covered her phone with her palm like a kid hiding stolen candy. "What was that?" I asked. "None of your business," she snapped, too fast, too defensive. That's when I realized something I hadn't understood until that exact moment. The disaster of her wedding wasn't actually the crisis. It was the cover. The real crisis, the real bomb, was whatever that message was referring to. She wasn't here because the wedding fell apart. She was here because she was terrified I'd find out something bigger, something she'd been hiding way before I ever canceled a single contract. And before I could ask again, she turned around and stormed down the hallway, shouting over her shoulder, "If you show your face at the wedding, if it even happens, I swear to God, Lena, I will make sure everyone knows what you really are." Then she was gone. And for the first time in my life, I realized Marissa wasn't just entitled. She was dangerous. And whatever she was hiding was about to blow everything open, worse than anything I had planned. If I'm being honest, none of this started with the wedding. It didn't even start with the $8,200 I sent her for the venue deposit. Yes, she asked for more in my version of the story than yours. It started way before that. Years before. Back when Marissa and I still lived under the same roof in our old house on the west side of Cleveland. People always thought she was the golden child. Perfect hair, perfect confidence, perfect timing. She'd walk into a room and the whole place would adjust around her. Teachers adored her. Boys followed her like shadows. Adults called her commanding, like it was a compliment. Behind closed doors, though, different story. She didn't command anything. She consumed. That was her superpower. When she wanted something, she didn't ask. She shifted the world until she got it. And if she couldn't shift the world, she shifted the people in front of her. Mom, Dad, me, anyone who stood still long enough. I used to think it was charisma. Later, I realized it was something else. Manipulation wrapped in charm. I remember being 12 and watching her convince my mom to take suspicion as an insult whenever Marissa did something wrong. I remember being 15 and seeing her tell our dad that everyone spent money like she did, so why was he being so dramatic? And I remember being 17 when she crashed my car, a car I spent a whole summer working part-time to pay off, and told me I'd overreact if I asked her to help fix it. And the worst part, I believed her. Every single time. She had this way of making her needs feel like emergencies and everyone else's boundaries feel like obstacles. And because I was the quiet one, the reasonable one, everyone looked to me to give in. Come on, Lena, it's your sister. You know how she is. She just needs time to grow up. Time. Our whole family wasted years of time on that promise. Things only escalated when she met Caleb, her fiancé. He was the quiet engineer type, smart, steady, the kind of guy who'd apologize for breathing too loud. The kind she could mold. At first, I actually liked him. He seemed like the one person who'd get her to slow down and grow up. But all he did was give her a bigger audience. She loved playing future wife, posting pictures of their brunches, tagging brands she couldn't afford, romanticizing the engagement like it was a Netflix show. And people ate it up. Then one night over dinner, Caleb mentioned casually that the wedding fund was a little short, and Marissa laughed, not embarrassed, just amused. Don't worry, she said, nudging him. Lena always helps. She's basically family CFO. I laughed too, because I thought it was a joke. It wasn't. Less than a week later, she sent the first text. Hey, can you send me $8,200? Venue deposit. We'll pay you back after gifts. Not even a hi. Not even a breakdown, just the number, and like an idiot I sent it. The second request came 2 days later, then a third. Then one favor, after another, each one framed like I owed her support simply for existing in the same bloodline. But the moment that really flipped everything wasn't the money. It was something smaller, something stupid. She posted on Instagram that the wedding was fully funded thanks to our hard work and the support of real family. There it was, real family. The line that punched harder than any insult she'd ever thrown at me. The line that told me she didn't see me as a sister, just as a resource she could drain without gratitude. That's when the crack started. But the twist, the part I didn't know yet. Marissa wasn't just using me, she was hiding something that text from the venue manager hinted at. Something she'd been covering long before she ever asked me for a dime. And I was about to find out just how deep her lies went. Things didn't break all at once. They cracked in quiet places first, places I'd ignored for years because it was easier to keep the peace than confront the monster living in our family. But after that Instagram post about real family, something inside me shifted. I stopped giving her the benefit of the doubt and started seeing everything she did with clear eyes. And once you see clearly, you can't unsee. The next few weeks were a blur of small, sharp moments that added up to something bigger. Marissa asking for more money, casual, entitled, no shame. Mom trying to smooth things over because she hated conflict more than she hated being wrong. Dad pretending not to notice anything because he always believed problems fixed themselves if he stayed quiet long enough. And then Caleb started calling me. Not a lot, just every few days by accident. He'd ask a question about the wedding, then backtrack when he realized Marissa hadn't told me anything. Did she show you the seating chart? No. Oh, never mind. Or did she say if you're doing a speech? No. Oh, she said never mind. Each slip felt like a thread pulling loose. By the third or fourth call, I realized something. Marissa wasn't just excluding me. She was lying to him too. About money, about planning, about the wedding being fully funded. That explained the tension in his voice. The pauses. The way he talked like he was tiptoeing across landmines he didn't understand. But here's the thing I didn't expect. The more cracks I noticed in their relationship, the more hostile Marissa became toward me. Like she was terrified I'd see too much if I stuck around. She avoided me completely unless she needed something. One night she showed up at my apartment unannounced. No hello, no small talk, just holding a dress bag and a receipt. Can you put this on your card? She said. I'll pay you back when the registry gifts come in, obviously. When I didn't answer right away, she rolled her eyes. Oh my God, Lena, don't be dramatic, you make 6 figures. You're not going to starve if you spot me a few thousand. Something broke in me then, not snapped, broke, quietly like ceramic under pressure. No, Marissa, I said, I'm not paying for anything else. She stared at me like I'd spoken another language, then her lips tightened. A slow, venomous smile spread across her face. "You're trying to sabotage my wedding." I didn't respond. I just held her stare. And for the first time ever, she looked scared. Not of me, of losing control. She grabbed her dress bag and stormed out, slamming the door so hard the frame rattled. That night, I lay awake thinking about what the hell I was doing. Was I being petty, cruel, overreacting to years of resentment? But every time I replayed her words, "Real family, you're jealous, you'll pay me back when gifts come in," I felt the anger burn hotter. I didn't want revenge, I wanted distance. But distance wasn't something Marissa allowed. Not when she needed you. Not when you stopped feeding the machine she built her life on. So the escalation wasn't loud. It was quiet. A shift I could feel but couldn't name yet. It showed up in the way relatives suddenly called to check on me, clearly fed some half-truth from Marissa. It showed up in the way Mom guilt-tripped me, saying, "Just help her until the wedding is over." Like the wedding was some magical cutoff point. But the real escalation, the moment I realized I wasn't crazy, came from Caleb. Late one night, he texted me, "Can we talk? There's something I think you should know." And then, right after sending it, he unsent the message. Like he panicked. Like he realized he wasn't supposed to involve me. Like whatever he was about to say would change everything. I didn't sleep the rest of the night, because I knew something was unraveling behind the scenes. Something Marissa didn't want either of us to find out. And soon, neither of us would be able to ignore it anymore. The first twist didn't explode, it seeped in, slow and poisonous, the way truth usually does when someone's been hiding it long enough to forget what honesty feels like. It happened 3 days after Caleb unsent that message. I was at work, trying to focus on emails but rereading his text in my mind every few minutes. My stomach was tight, my thoughts kept spiraling, and by lunch I couldn't pretend to concentrate anymore. I stepped outside into the cold Cleveland air, grabbed a coffee I didn't actually want, and checked my phone again. And that's when it happened. A voicemail, from an unfamiliar number, 38 seconds long. I almost deleted it, thinking it was spam, but something in me, call it instinct, dread, whatever, made me listen. A woman's voice. Soft, shaky, unsure. Hi, I'm not sure if this is Lena. Caleb gave me your number months ago, but I didn't want to get involved. I think you deserve to know the truth before the wedding." My heart stopped. She kept talking. "I don't know what Marissa told you, but the venue manager, Evan, he isn't just handling the wedding. They've been seeing each other since January. Caleb found out 2 weeks ago. He's been trying to confront her, but she keeps telling him he's imagining things." I froze in the middle of the sidewalk. The world didn't slow down, I did. I replayed the voicemail twice, shaking harder each time. Marissa was cheating. Not with some stranger. Not with a coworker. With the venue manager. The same man whose name flashed across her phone with the message, "You need to tell your sister before I do." Oh my God, that's why she wanted everything booked so early. That's why she insisted on that venue even when the cost made no sense. That's why she panicked when contracts were under my name instead of hers. Because she wasn't just planning a wedding. She was running a second life. And Caleb knew. He wasn't clueless. He wasn't spineless. He was trapped in a nightmare she built out of lies and charm. My hands were trembling so badly I dropped my phone. A stranger picked it up for me, asked if I was okay. I muttered something and walked away, not even remembering where I was going until I realized I was driving, aggressively, automatically, toward my parents' house. By the time I pulled into the driveway, my pulse was thudding in my ears. Mom opened the door before I even knocked. Her eyes were red, her voice was tired. "Marissa called," she said. "She said you're trying to ruin her life." I pushed past her. "Where is she?" "In the kitchen, with Caleb." I stopped dead. Caleb was here. I stepped inside and heard muffled voices, Marissa sharp and panicked, Caleb low and exhausted. When I turned the corner, they both looked at me like I'd walked in with a lit match. "Why are you here?" Marissa snapped. I stared straight at Caleb. He wouldn't meet my eyes. "Tell her," I said. Marissa's face went pale. "Lena, don't tell her," I repeated. Caleb swallowed hard. He looked sick. "She said you knew," he whispered. "She said you helped cover it up." My heart dropped. "Cover what up?" Marissa lunged forward. "Stop it," but Caleb finally broke. "The affair," he said. "With Evan." Silence. Thick, deadly. Mom gasped. Dad, who had quietly stepped into the room, stared like he'd been shot. Marissa's mouth opened and closed like she couldn't breathe. Then she screamed. You had no right to tell her, not to Caleb, to me, like I was the one who cheated, like her betrayal was somehow my crime. She charged toward me, but Dad stepped between us. And for the first time in my entire life, I saw something new in his eyes when he looked at Marissa. Disgust. Not disappointment, disgust. Marissa knew she'd lost control of the room, of the story, of everything. And that's when she snapped. You don't understand, she spat. None of you understand, you don't even know the real reason. The real reason. The way she said it sent chills straight through me, because it wasn't denial. It was a warning, a threat. A promise that something darker was coming. I didn't say a word the rest of that night. Not when Marissa stormed out of the house. Not when Caleb followed her, apologizing to everyone like he was the one who'd broken something. Not when my mom sank into a chair with her face in her hands, whispering, "How did we get here?" I just stood there in the middle of the kitchen, my heart beating slow and steady in a way that felt unnatural. Too calm, too clear. Because the moment Marissa threw out those words, "You don't even know the real reason," I knew exactly what she was trying to do. She wanted to scare me. She wanted to regain control. She wanted to make me doubt myself again. But I was past doubt, beyond guilt. I was finally seeing her without the emotional fog I'd lived under for years, and all that was left was focus. Cold, precise, methodical focus. I drove home without music, without thinking. Just planning. Every mile brought another piece of clarity, another step in the chain. This was no longer about the canceled wedding. This was about the years she stole from me. The money, the manipulation. The way she weaponized our family every time she needed something. The way she used my silence as a safety net. And now she dragged me into her affair like I was a co-conspirator. No more. By the time I walked into my apartment, I knew exactly what I needed to do. The first step was simple. I pulled out the folder of wedding contracts I'd been keeping in a drawer. Everything was under my name, because Marissa couldn't qualify for half of it without tanking her credit score even further. Her signature wasn't on a single page. Mine was. The cancellations I'd made so far were clean, legal, airtight. But there were still things she relied on that she didn't know she'd already lost. The dress, the $3,400 designer gown she secretly financed through my credit and never paid a dime on. I logged into the account and filed a return under fraudulent charge. It wasn't untrue. The rental chairs and decor, I was still the point of contact. I emailed the company asking for confirmation of cancellation. Done, the florist. I forwarded them the initial deposit receipt, with my name, not hers, and told them I wanted to terminate. They responded within 20 minutes. Then came the invitations. The custom ones she boasted about online. The artist messaged me 2 weeks ago asking for the remaining balance. I'd ignored it then. Not now. I paid the small outstanding fee myself. Then I emailed the artist. Please ship the completed invitations directly to me, not to the bride. I didn't know why I did it until I typed the last sentence. I wanted proof, physical proof, a record, a timeline. Something she couldn't spin, erase, or lie her way out of. Step by step, everything she'd built, on my back, on my bank account, on lies, was collapsing with quiet precision. But that wasn't the revenge, not the real one. The real revenge came from something else entirely. Earlier that night, when Caleb finally admitted the affair, something flickered across his face, something tired and dangerously close to truth. He wasn't just guilty. He wasn't just heartbroken, he was scared. Not of Marissa, of what she was hiding. That text from the woman, the stranger, echoed in my head. I think you deserve to know the truth before the wedding. The real reason. Whatever it wasn't about romance, or passion, or some dramatic love triangle. It was something she'd been hiding long before she ever met Evan. Something that made Caleb flinch every time Marissa raised her voice. Something that made her panic when I saw that text notification. And if I wanted actual revenge, not petty punishment, but real accountability, I needed to find out what that reason was. So after clearing the contracts, I did the first truly aggressive thing I'd done in years. I texted Caleb, "Meet me tomorrow, we're done protecting her." I stared at the message for a long time, then I hit send. Because for the first time in my life, I wasn't scared of Marissa's secrets. I was ready for them. Caleb showed up the next evening exactly at 7:13 p.m., like he'd rehearsed the whole drive over. He looked different from the man I'd met a year ago, hollow-eyed, thinner, like he hadn't slept in days. He kept rubbing his thumb over his palm, a nervous habit I'd never seen before. When I opened the door, he didn't step inside right away. "Are you sure you want to do this?" he asked. I nodded. "Yes." He exhaled like he'd been holding that breath for a year. We sat in my living room, 2 cups of tea cooling between us, untouched. He didn't make small talk, didn't waste time. He jumped straight into the thing he'd been carrying alone. "This isn't just about the affair," he said. I knew that. I'd felt it the night everything blew up. "She told me you knew," he continued quietly. "She told me you helped cover it." I shook my head. "Why would she say that?" He hesitated, then reached into his jacket and pulled out a stack of printed screenshots. He placed them in front of me. At first, I didn't understand what I was looking at. The messages were from months ago, some more recent. Text bubbles, my name, my number, my contact photo, except none of them were mine. "Caleb, what is this?" He swallowed. "Marissa has a second phone." My blood went cold. "A separate number nobody knows about," he continued. "She used it to text me as you, for months." I scanned the messages, my eyes burning. There were texts where I supposedly told him Marissa was depressed and needed constant reassurance. Texts where I told him to be patient because she was fragile and had a trauma history that didn't exist. Texts where I urged him to buy her things, where I defended her when she didn't come home at night, where I told him not to question her spending, where I told him she deserved the big wedding she wanted. And the worst one, a message sent 6 months ago. "If you ever truly love her, you'll overlook the mistakes she's made. She's working through things, don't push her." "Lena," I felt sick. "She forged those," I whispered. "No," he said. "She texted me from that phone, pretending to be you, the whole time." I couldn't breathe. He continued, voice trembling. "She used you as a shield. Anytime I questioned her, she'd say, 'Even Lena says I'm trying my best.' Then she'd show me your texts. 'I trusted you. I thought you were helping us. I thought you believed in us.'" He looked up, eyes glassy but angry. "I didn't know she was cheating. I swear I didn't. I thought she was just overwhelmed, because she made it sound like you were defending her every day." I stared at the floor. My sister didn't just lie. She impersonated me. She stole my identity, not for money, but for credibility, for emotional leverage, for control. It was worse than manipulation. It was character assassination in slow motion. I finally found my voice. "Why are you telling me this now?" "That's not the twist," he said. My stomach dropped. He reached into his jacket again and pulled out an envelope. He slid it across the table. Inside was a printout of an email chain between Marissa and the venue manager, dated before the engagement. She didn't just cheat during wedding planning. She was cheating before the proposal. Caleb had proof, dates, receipts, hotel confirmations. But that wasn't the part that made my vision blur. The final email in the chain read, "Once the wedding is paid for and everything is in my name, I'll deal with Lena. She's the only one who can ruin this. Deal with me, not ignore me, not cut me off, deal with me. As in remove me, erase me, destroy me if needed." My skin went cold. Caleb looked up. "She wanted you out of the picture long before you canceled anything." The room felt too small, the air too thin. And then he said the last thing, the thing that flipped everything upside down. "Marissa wasn't using you for the wedding, Lena. She was using the wedding to take everything you have. Your credit, your reputation, your family. She planned it, the whole thing." He wasn't wrong. This wasn't a meltdown. It was a blueprint, a strategy, a long con. And I had been the target the entire time. I didn't sleep that night, not even for a minute. I sat on my couch holding those screenshots, those emails, those pieces of evidence that turned my entire life with Marissa into something unrecognizable. I kept trying to force the pieces into the version of her I grew up with, the sister who stole my clothes, who lied about crashing my car, who manipulated our parents. But none of that came close to what Caleb showed me. This wasn't impulsive, this wasn't emotional, this wasn't someone spiraling. This was deliberate, calculated, cold, a blueprint written months before the wedding even existed. By sunrise, I needed one thing and one thing only. The reason, the motive, the thing that made my sister decide to dismantle my life with the precision of a surgeon and the cruelty of someone who had never once loved me. I didn't expect to get it, but I did, way too easily. It was 9:42 a.m. when my dad called. His voice was tight. "Marissa's here," he said. "She wants to talk, And Lena, I think you should come. I almost didn't go. But something in his tone was different. Not pleading, not defensive. Just resigned. Like even he finally understood what she was. I got there in 10 minutes. Marissa was sitting at the kitchen table, hands folded like she was at a job interview. Her hair was unwashed. Her eyes were hollow. But when she looked at me, I saw something that made my stomach twist, not guilt. Not fear, not shame, calculation. She was studying me, waiting to see what I knew. Mom was upstairs. Dad hovered near the sink like he didn't trust himself to speak. I sat across from her. Why? I said. No preamble, no softening, her jaw tightened. What exactly, she asked, are you accusing me of? I tossed the envelope onto the table. The screenshots, the forged texts, the affair timeline, the email where she said she would deal with me. Her face didn't crumble. It sharpened. She looked at each page slowly, carefully, like she was checking for mistakes in someone else's paperwork. Then she stacked everything into a neat pile. Fine, she said. You want the truth, here. She leaned forward, eyes dark, voice low and steady. You have everything I should have had. A chill ran through me. She wasn't talking about money. She was talking about my life. You're the stable one, the reliable one, the one people trust, she said. You get promoted, you save money, you pay bills on time. Mom and Dad brag about you. Everyone sees you as the successful sister. She said, successful like a slur. Then she laughed, short, hollow, bitter. You think I wanted to marry Caleb? You think I loved him? Lena, he was a plan, a structure. A springboard. My dad inhaled sharply. She ignored him. And the wedding, she continued. It wasn't about love, it was about image. It was about starting my life over with something big enough, shiny enough, dramatic enough to bury the reality of who I actually am. She looked dead into my eyes. And you ruined it because you're always there. You always win, you always get to be the good one. My stomach twisted into a knot. This wasn't jealousy. This was resentment that had been incubating for years, rotting, festering, hardening into something poisonous. So you impersonated me, I whispered. You used me, she shrugged. You're the one people believe. If I texted Caleb excuses, he'd question them. But if you said them, he bought every word. That's what you are to people, Lena. Credibility, she smiled faintly. And credibility is more valuable than anything he could offer me. Dad finally spoke. Marissa, how could you? She cut him off sharply. I did what I had to do. Then she turned back to me. You've always been the obstacle, the one Mom praised, the one teachers liked, the one who didn't make mistakes. I was never going to outshine you. So yes, I planned a life that didn't need you in it. Her voice dropped to a whisper. And I would have pulled it off if you hadn't started paying attention. It hit me then, the horrifying truth. Marissa didn't lash out because she was emotionally broken. She lashed out because my existence threatened the narrative she needed everyone to believe. She needed me diminished, replaced, removed. Not physically, maybe, but socially, financially. Emotionally, she wanted my place in the family, my place in our parents' hearts, my reputation, my stability, my identity. And she almost had it. If Caleb hadn't slipped, if that woman hadn't called, if I hadn't stopped funding the machine, she would have erased me with a smile. And she wasn't sorry. She was furious she'd been caught. She leaned back in her chair, crossing her arms. You wanted a reason, she said calmly. There it is. And for the first time in my life, I believed every word she said. I didn't react right away. I didn't scream, didn't cry, didn't break anything. I just looked at Marissa, my sister, my blood, and realized she wasn't someone I'd lost. She was someone I had never actually known. And when you finally accept that someone is dangerous, the only choice left is to protect yourself, so I stood up. Okay, I said quietly. Then we're done. Her eyes flickered panic, then anger. What's that supposed to mean? It means you don't get access to me anymore, I said. Not my money, not my time, not my reputation, not my silence, not anything. I turned to Dad. I'm filing a police report for identity fraud. Marissa shot out of her chair so fast it scraped the floor. You're bluffing. No, I said. I'm finally telling the truth. Dad swallowed hard. Lena, do you have to? Yes, I said. I have to. She impersonated me. She used my name to manipulate someone. She used a second phone to pretend to be me, and she admitted it. I held up the screenshots, the emails, the forged messages, the proof. When someone steals your identity, I said, you don't negotiate with them, you document them. Marissa's face drained of color. You're trying to ruin my life. No, I said. I'm making sure you stop ruining mine. She lunged for the papers, but Dad stepped between us again, hands shaking. Marissa, sit down. For the first time in my life, she actually did. But she wasn't done, not even close. You're going to regret this, she whispered. Everyone is going to see who you really are, I shrugged. Good. Let them, she blinked. She didn't expect that. Because for once she had nothing left to steal, nothing left to twist. I left the house without another word. The next week was a long sequence of consequences, not revenge, not spite, just reality finally catching up to someone who'd outrun it for years. I filed the report. I provided the screenshots. I forwarded the emails. I handed everything to the detective assigned to the case. Identity fraud is messy, slow, complicated, but every officer I spoke to had the same reaction when they read the messages. This wasn't a mistake, this was intentional. Caleb gave a statement too. He moved out of their shared apartment the same day. My parents didn't defend her this time, not once. They finally saw the whole picture, the way she weaponized them, the way she tried to pit us against each other. Mom cried for weeks, not because I acted, but because she'd let Marissa manipulate her for so long. And Marissa. She spiraled hard. When the venue found out about the affair, they banned her from the property. When the florist learned the wedding was canceled, they posted a vague but pointed message on their business page about certain clients. When her landlord realized she had no income, because Caleb wasn't covering for her anymore, he issued an eviction notice. All of it without me lifting a finger. The world she built on lies collapsed under its own weight, exactly as it should have. I didn't speak to her for months, not until she texted me from a new number, short, simple, hollow. I'm sorry. I stared at it for a long time, then I deleted it, not because I hated her, because I finally loved myself enough to let her go. Closure didn't come from revenge, it came from freedom. And the kicker. A few weeks later, I found the second phone, the one she used to impersonate me, left in a box of her old things at my parents' house. Dead battery, cracked screen, but inside, everything she didn't want anyone to see. And as I put it into the police evidence bag, I finally smiled. Because some people bury themselves, all you have to do is stop digging them out.